Hello, everyone. And today I got a special guest from all the way across the other side of the world in Spain, originally from in the Australia area, is a podcast growth coach. His name is Kris Reid, and he is going to be joining us today on Ernest Goes to Network podcast. So, Kris, thank you for joining us.
Awesome to be here, Ernest.
Indeed. So today, just to kind of give the audience a little bit of an understanding of who Kris Reid is and what you do. You're a podcast growth coach. So we can dive a little bit into that, but I want to get a little bit of your backstory about who you are, what you did, and what you are doing now, and then we'll kind of go from there. Okay?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we specialize in, well, helping real estate professionals grow their business through the power of podcasting. And podcasting is a pretty damn good way to grow it. I mean, I get to sit here in Spain, chat to you in North Carolina, and, well, have a good old time.
That's it.
How that came about, I was originally a software engineer, worked for big banks in London, making billionaires more money, which, is it's pretty soul destroying work, but they pay you pretty well, so you learn to live with it. But I lost my job in the global financial crisis back in 2008. Jesus, a while ago now.
Yeah.
And I was, licking my wounds, going, "What the hell am I going to do with my life?" Went traveling the world, met a young lady in Vietnam, and got married, made a bunch of babies, and started working online. Started building websites and doing primarily SEO, search engine optimization, which is like getting people to come up in Google. And it turned
Okay.
out I was pretty good at it. And I've always heard the saying, riches are in the niches, even though you should pronounce it niches. But I was like, man, I could do this for anyone. How do I pick a niche? And it was actually the first time I got invited onto a podcast. It was Reed Goosen, who's an Australian in the US. He focused on multifamily, and I had no idea what multifamily was. I was like, okay, but I'll
Yeah.
come on a podcast and say hi. And I started learning about the real estate game. Went, wow, there's a whole lot of money in this stuff. And we eventually got a client. Her name's Avery Carl from the Short Term Shop, pretty close to you guys. She's in Tennessee.
I see.
And the first year she was with us, she did 53 million in production, which is pretty okay. Next year she did 158 million. The year after that she did 621, which is like eye-watering. And her goal was to double it again, which unfortunately she didn't quite make it, but she did hit 1,066,000,000. I was like, okay, we're 100% in real estate now. That's all we do.
Yeah.
And so that's really well cemented FRA. And
So
so
did she get into is that all in the multifamily space that she was doing
no,
all that
she
work?
she she specializes in investment properties. Really, she kind of teaches people how to do Airbnb and
Okay.
sells them a house, and it works really, really well. Uh, and yeah, she sells a lot of them.
Yeah.
And so, SEO and building websites is kind of expensive, and so you can only work with top tier agents. We're charging like five grand plus a month, and so your average agent can't afford that. And so we're like, well, how do we get in touch with these top tier agents? And that's where we launched the Icons of Real Estate, which is our podcast, which is exactly that's who it caters to. The guests that come on are top tier agents, the people that listen to it are other agents. And it's a really great way to network and well, build those relationships. And people ask, what is it that you do? And go, well, you show a result like Avery Carl, and you're like, hey, would you like us to do that for you? And they're like, hey, take my money. And it works pretty damn well.
Well, that's great. So how long have you been doing the podcast growth coaching and doing the well, you were already kind of doing the SEO space, but how long have you been doing it and then I guess monetizing at it? Because that's really kind of the thing, because you were saying from the 2008-9 crisis, um, how long did it take you to turn that full cycle to where it's actually replaced the job and all that?
I mean, there was definitely some hiccups along the way. I mean, geez, I knew nothing about business right as a software engineer. Uh, Probably should have read some books. Did some lots of stupid people there, stupid things. Everything from like office manager stealing $30,000 to like getting sued for stupid crap and like just lots of rookie mistakes. but yeah, like providing services to people, it's, as long as you're good at it, it doesn't cost that much to start up it doesn't require that much capital. Not
Correct.
like, my wife, well, used to have a bunch of restaurants in Vietnam, and even in Vietnam, it cost a fortune to build a quality restaurant, right? It's like Jesus. And then you're picking up pennies to pay it back. It's woo, tough
Yeah,
game if you ask me.
it is.
Um, but with the podcast, I think we just released our 600th episode a little while ago, so we
Wow.
got we got quite a lot of them out there. But even with podcasting, I might not be the sharpest businessman in the world. Like, we had our own podcast primarily to sell SEO, build our network, and get new clients.
Yeah.
And eventually, a probate attorney in Beverly Hills, he was on our show. He's like, "Man, had a really good time. Do you reckon you could produce a show for me?" I was like, "Well, yeah, we have all the infrastructure set up. Sure, why not?" And he was our very first client. And then a few more people asked, "Hey, can you do that for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, maybe there's a real need for this." And really, that, now that is our key focus, because it's like, it's
Okay.
such a great way to grow your business. For one, it doesn't cost as much as SEO. It doesn't take as long, and you get instant feedback too, right? It's a lot of fun. Like, we have, like, most podcasts fail. Like, I think it's something like the average podcast gets to 3 episodes before they quit. Like, it's
Yeah.
so low. And then even the fraction that keep going, most don't make it to 10. And the reason they can't is because they don't have a strategy. You need to work out, how am I going to make money from this? And yeah, sure, if you can make amazing content and become, the diary of the CEO, or, or Joe Rogan or something, but most podcasts don't need to do that. Like,
Right.
especially if you're in the real estate field, right? It's like, if you have 10 people listen to an episode and 3 reach out and 1 buys a house, well, it's way worth doing, right?
Absolutely.
But a part that most people don't even see is, like, what you brought up, which is networking. Like, you bring people on your show that you want to speak to. It's a great way to open the door. We have clients who have, generated referrals, referral partnerships before their show's even launched. Because, like, we generally record quite a few episodes before we launch a podcast,
Right.
and one of the first things we do is go, all right, who's your perfect referral partner? If you're a probate realtor, then it's going to be attorneys, and they're the people we want to interview. If you get leads coming in from mortgage brokers, well, let's talk to mortgage brokers. And it's such an easy way to get your foot in the door. If there's someone that you've been wanting to speak to, but it's hard to build that relationship. You go, "Hey, Johnny, want to be a guest on my podcast?" And who's going to say no to that? Because they're like, "Sure." Because, one, you interview them, let them show off their expertise, make them feel great. You then create a platform for them to promote themselves, make them feel great and like you again. You then, depending on what you provide, but you can provide social snippets for them. You can provide, articles for their website, for their newsletter. It's a great way to build a relationship that is a win-win for everyone. So yeah,
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, it dives into a lot of the content, right? So, I mean, everybody in the social media aspect of things, that's really what they're after, is this extra content, or the video shorts, or little nuggets that they get out of that they can use for just kind of remarketing, showing that authority in the space and whatnot. So yeah, it's great. So who would be one of your most memorable interviewers on your podcast?
Hey, I don't host our podcast, so
Okay.
I
Well, you
don't
did at
do.
the beginning though, didn't you?
I did not. I've never hosted one of our podcasts.
Really? Okay.
Thomas Fonseca. He's our primary host. We've had some other people along the way, but he is our primary host. I've never hosted an episode. I guess on podcasts, I do it quite regularly. This is my third this week,
Okay.
and that's a great way to grow your business too. It's
Yeah.
the podcast I was on Wednesday night. She's I generally talk about how to use podcasting to grow your business. She's like, "Yeah, I started my podcast in 2018 and my business went whew." Like, she retired from mortgage broking, and now she wants us to do a mastermind for her audience. I'm like, "That's freaking awesome." It's like, I got to chew the fat for 20, 30 minutes with her, and now we're going to do business together. It's a fantastic way to grow your business, whether you're guesting or hosting. It's all about
Yeah.
networking.
Yep. I agree. I had so when I was tooling around with the idea about doing the Ernest Goes to Network podcast, well, one, everybody's like, well, why the name? Well, my name's Ernest. I mean, trying to figure out, what kind of goes along with that. But back in the 80s, there was a show, and it was Ernest P. Worrell. So he had Ernest Goes to Camp and Ernest Goes to whatever else. So I was like, hey, I'm just going to do Ernest Goes to Network, right? Because that was kind of always the thing of like just building the network. And everybody always talks about your network equals your net worth, right? So that was always kind of the mantra of what goes on. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep it simple and really just kind of have the conversation with everybody about what it is they do and get to know them. And so my very first podcast guest was someone that you might know and actually is very well known, but his name is Joe Foster. He's the founder of Reebok. And
Ah,
so
yeah,
Reebok,
wow.
yeah, so
Mm.
he was, and like and everybody's like, man, how'd you get Joe on there? And really, it was just kind of like, again, it's kind of one of the networking events I went to. Joe was a guest there, and I had the opportunity to meet with him and be backstage with him. And I said, hey, I would love to have you onto the podcast. He goes, how many viewers do you have? I'm like, zero, you know, and I was like, but I said, I would love to be able to get your story and understand who you are and what you did and how, you Reebok came about. And, he started that with his brother. And, actually it was his great grandfather that started it, but the story was great. The behind the sides was fantastic just to be able to have that 15, 20 minutes of someone that is so iconic across the globe, right? I mean, and and so that's kind of the I think the fun part about the podcasting is that literally, if you think about it, and I talked in one of my other episodes with another lady that was in Australia. I was like, back when the internet and all that wasn't around, you were like my pen pal. Like I would have to write to you and say, hey, it's good to see you, good to talk to you, da da da. And it's several weeks go by, but now I can, here we are live, and you're in Spain, and we're here in the States. And so it's great that you have no boundaries now. Like there's nothing that's stopping you from being able to have the expanded network, if you will. But
Oh, it's so
but
good. You can live anywhere in the world. I love being able to work from my computer. My wife had bricks and mortar restaurants, right? And when we moved to Spain, she had to sell them all because it's really hard to run restaurants remote. And it's like, what a pain in the ass that was. It's like, and then her income stops where I just take my computer and I can be working anywhere in the world. It gives you a whole lot of freedom. It's fantastic. But one thing you mentioned there about when your podcast was brand new and you didn't have any views, like that is that one of the biggest challenges of starting anything, right? It's like once you're Joe Rogan, everyone wants to be on your show. It's like no problem, but it's like getting to Joe Rogan is pretty hard, right?
exactly.
And that's one thing that we have to kind of put to our clients is like you're not known. So people don't really want to go on your show. It's not even launched yet. So it's like they don't even believe you have a show. So it's always best. And generally, the host has never been a host before, too, which takes some skill in itself. We, do some coaching and some training, but we often encourage people to go with some friendly guests. Like if you work with a title company or a mortgage broker or whoever, like people that that, well, for one, they're not going to say no to you if you invite them on your show that hasn't launched yet, but you're not going to be super nervous, because it's the last thing, you invite some big star and then you like act like a twat because you've never hosted a podcast before and forget to hit the record button. Oh my God, we've had so many clients that as they're starting off their podcast have not recorded. And you're like, oh my God, we had this one guy that's done about 5 or 6 episodes and didn't record.
Oh no. Oh
Poor
no.
guy.
Yeah,
But
all that content and great stories gone.
yeah, gone. Well, you get to do it again, and maybe it's even better.
Well, you would be, that's more practice you've had, right?
Yeah. But
But
if anyone would like to know how to launch your own podcast, we have a framework that's available. It's on our website, just iconsofrealestate.com/framework, and shows you everything how we do it, like how we pick your host avatar. So your guest avatar, what sort of guests you're going to get on there, like referral partners, how to determine your viewership, who's going to be, so what sort of content you should be creating for those people. And then, everything from, how we do the editing, how we do the syndication, how we do the promotion. So if you want to launch your own podcast and see everything, how we do it for our clients, it's iconsofrealestate.com/framework.
Fantastic. So obviously you're on social media and stuff as well. So is it underneath the Kris Reid, or you go by the Icons of Real Estate?
Not the most social media from guy. Like every now and then I'll be at some conference or something and I'll see someone like going wazoo about Instagram or Facebook. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'm gonna give this a go, and I'll make like one or two posts and then go, nah, I'm done with this. That is not me. Like I might post something on Facebook once a year. It's not. It's Some people love it and some people are great at it, and if you're good at it, it's a great way to grow your
Yeah.
business. But that's one benefit of podcasting too, is it's so much easier. Like I find it very direct. Like if I'm actually trying to, promote something on Instagram and take pictures and write something, it's not me. It's really draining. But having a conversation like this is like so easy.
Yeah.
It's just flows, right? You're like talking about what you do. It's not hard at all. And then, in a 20-minute conversation, there's plenty of little snippets. You can just chop those out and boom, there you go for your reels for Instagram.
Yeah. Well, and that's all great information that you're giving out there. And realistically, I think a lot of people get so hyped about all the things that have to happen in order for them to get started versus just saying, I just need to get started. And really and then you can kind of, as you get going, you just start adding a different microphone or better lighting or different backdrops or, your different clients and different guests that you having on. It's just kind of a mixture. And I think sometimes when you're in the podcast, like there are some that I follow that are very, very niche specific. And so they kind of run out of guests because it's harder to them to find different guests that kind of fit that specific niche. And so that's kind of another reason getting into the broader side of things is like I'm networking. Like I could talk to anybody anywhere. You put me out somewhere and I'm gonna find someone to talk to. And usually if I'm in a networking event, I'm one of the last people, if not the last person to leave that event because I'm just usually talking and really just brainstorming with people because I just enjoy it, right? And that's kind of sounds like what you do as well. So
Yeah, well, you got to do what you enjoy, right? If you're forcing yourself to do something, well, you're not going to do it forever, right? Because it drains you. You want to do things that excite you and bring energy
yep.
to you. But I mean, and I a lot of our clients do have very niche specific podcasts, and one of the reasons we tend to push them towards that is because that's where the money's at, right? It's
Yeah.
like, especially if you're a real estate agent in some local area. We've got one client that is in like a subdivision. There's like 1,000 houses or something, and she's making content around that. It's like the whole market is like 1,000 people. It's so small, but it's like
Yeah.
anyone that listens to that, well, that's your perfect ideal customer, right? It's like, it's no one outside of that is ever going to listen to it. So she's never going to have a gazillion views, but your
Yeah.
ideal customer is listening to it. It's perfect for that. You
Yeah.
know, like most podcasts do fail. And a big reason is that is because people don't know how to make money from it.
Yep.
Like if sure, if you've got all the time in the world, then you can go and do it for leisure. But most people have to focus on making money, right? And
Mhm.
if your podcast was driving the growth of your business, well, you're always going to find the time for it. So the very first thing you should do before launching a show is work out how you're going to make money from it. And usually what we find is it's through referral partners. That's the quickest way to it. I mean, we got clients that have sponsorship deals, and that's great too, but that takes time.
Yeah.
Like building an audience takes time. The quickest thing you can do is get referrals. Like as I mentioned before, if you get your best referrals from mortgage brokers, then just talk to some mortgage brokers.
Mortgage brokers.
Geez, if you're talking to one a week, it's 52 a year, right? It's like, geez, if you don't build a few referral partners out of that in my hat.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's how you're going to get your businesses kind of around that networking for sure, and then everybody and staying top of mind, right? And that's really kind of like the forefront because there's tons of everybody out there, realtors or brokers or mortgage people. There's tons of out there, and so you just always have to stay on top of mind where anybody that's searching and looking for that real estate agent in that neighborhood, they want someone that's known in that neighborhood, right? Because they want to know that their product, their house is in the best hands possible to either get sold or you're looking for a house to buy, right? So you're in the best hands possible with all that. So and that's I
I
think
mean,
that's
a great example of when I was moving, I live in Valencia in Spain. And when I was moving here, I didn't know anything. I was searching on Google for schools. What are the best schools to put my kids in? And landed on a real estate guy's website. He's got a great article about every school. He's been here like 20 years. And it
yeah,
was real genuine of like, this one's crap and this one's good, and really explaining the ins and outs of why. And he's got his own podcast too. So you get to know him and feel him. And, he serves the expat market because it's, like generally in a foreign country, foreigners don't particularly like to work with locals because, well, locals have more knowledge and can rip people off. And
yeah,
so it's nice to work with, he's British, and so it's nice to work
yeah,
with a native English speaker. It makes people feel a lot more trusted. And man, his podcast and his website must bring him so much business.
yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, so I guess, in some of your framework that you're talking about, I mean, you have obviously have steps, right, to kind of getting to where you're at. You want to go through a few of those for people?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the very first step is designing the show, right? What sort of content are you going to make? What is your guest avatar? Because that's the first part. Then, reaching out to those people, book them as guests. Then, I mean, we've got a framework of how to design an interview. I mean, you're a very experienced host. I can tell, like, just questions flow out. It's fine, right? But especially if you're a brand new host and you're having a guest that's never been a guest before, your content's gonna suck. So, so you want to design the show and you send those to the guests. Hey, these are the questions we're gonna answer, so
Hmm.
that they come prepared and it's kind of easy for them, right? So you design the shows for people.
Hmm.
Then it's learning the more technical stuff of how to do the editing, how to make it sound right, how to make your lighting and your sound look good, and then more technical stuff on how to do the syndication.
Yeah. Yeah, that's where I think a lot of people want to be perfect right out of the gates. And this is really something that you just need to start. And then kind of to your point, have kind of the understanding of where you want to go with it and then work your way backwards, right? That reverse engineering that we always talk about with everything. And then, and it's just getting started. And the same thing like when we talk about real estate or any business, right? So like you might go in and you might have an idea about it, but you still have to go, whether it's a W-2 job, working for someone, you're going to get hired, but then they're still going to put you through a training. And even though you may already know it, you don't know their processes, what their systems of it is. And so there's still always this training that goes along with it. Well, this is no different, right? The podcasting. There's always going to be someone that does it better, someone that, is more polished, but they've also have 600 episodes, you know.
The beauty of when you do your first episode, no one's going to see it anyway, so don't worry.
Exactly. It's just
The
all
internet's a
practice.
very big place.
Yeah. I think my first one, I was actually in Mexico and he was in UK at the time. And so I'm literally doing it on my laptop, no lighting, very, the microphone off of the PC, and it was not greatest at all, but it was an opportunity I had, and it was so you just kind of roll with the punches. But it was fun nonetheless. We got to
Well,
do it.
you learn, and if you didn't do it, you wouldn't be where you are today, right? I
Exactly.
remember my first guesting as a podcast. I was so freaking nervous. I'd never been on a podcast before. I didn't know how it's going to work. I was like, oh, sweating beads all day long.
Yeah, don't do that on my side. You get really shiny like this, right? So Well, Chris, so we talked a little bit about the icons of real estate, got into a little bit of your podcast. So you talked about you actually do some real estate and stuff now, also kind of on the side of things. Are you doing that there in Spain, or where's your primary focus on the real estate that you do?
I mean, it's kind of a bit of a side hustle, something I do and a bit of fun. But yeah, we're pretty good at helping real estate agents grow their business. So I went and got my license in the US, joined a brokerage, build a bit of a team. I think we've got about 30 to 40 agents. And we,
Nice.
help them grow their business through, well, the same channels that we do for clients. And well, we've got a few agents here in Spain now too. But that's it's just a kind of side hustle.
So with that, did you become the broker in charge, or you just essentially have the team below you?
So the lady that I mentioned first, Avery Carr,
Mhm.
so she's the number one team with EXP Realty, and
Okay.
I started to learn a little bit about EXP because well, we work with the number one team, and then went, that's a pretty good model, and it works really good, right? It's like
Yeah.
we're able to bring agents over, do what we do, and well, the brokerage handles all the paperwork and all the legalities,
Okay.
and they're in 27 countries now, I think, so it's pretty cool.
It's been expanding quite a bit. I know there's quite a lot of agents that like it from here because they were able to, their percentages were different. It was easy. They still had some good learning programs and stuff to go in there and educate you on further on, kind of like that of maybe a Keller Williams or something to the extent, you know. But it's grown from the numbers I've seen
Oh
with
yeah,
EXP.
touching 90,000 agents. Like it's a lot. In fact, in 2 weeks, I'm going to Barcelona for their conference, which is going to be pretty fun.
Oh
It's all
yeah.
the international crowd. Like we've got agents now in Australia, India, South Africa, here in Spain. Yeah, it's I want them in a lot more.
Wow. Where's
And
that conference at?
it's in Barcelona.
In Barcelona. Okay. So that's not far from you then. That's only
No, it's great. I'll on the way there, I'll just sit on the train and have a coffee. On the way back, I'll have a glass of wine.
that's
Spain's
fantastic.
fantastic. It's got the second most high-speed rail in the world after China. And
Oh yeah.
Spain's a lot smaller than China, which means it covers the country very well.
I am so horrible with traveling. I do a lot in the States and then of course into Mexico and up in Canada, but getting over the pond, as they say, I have not done yet. But I can tell you my through the networking podcast, my last three interviews, two of them were from Australia. Actually, and then I was on three podcasts that were from podcast hosts that were in Australia, Sydney and Gold Coast, and then one guy was on from the UK. So
Yeah.
so they're like, yeah, you got to come over, and when you do, we'll throw you in there with everybody else and network with. I'm like, that's fantastic, you know. So and I think that's kind of where uh, the podcasting, both from what it is for you to be able to help you become that authority gives you the opportunities just like that. Like I can go to that country now and I know someone. And then they're going to take me around and show me, that of the kind of like the local scene and really just kind of dive you into the culture, which has always been a huge thing of what I want to do is with the culture side
Yeah,
of
just about two months ago, I was on a podcast with a guy who was in Bali, and my friend here, he flips houses in Bali, and my friend here who flips houses was going on a holiday to Bali, and I'm like introduced the two, and they had a fantastic time, and hopefully they're going to do business together. It's like, man, it's you never know where it's going to take you, but
yeah.
it's building that network.
Yeah. I had Caroline Stanberry and Sergio Carrillo. So they are they are both on that Real Housewives of Dubai. And so they are currently building a large complex there in Bali. That's going to be kind of a more Airbnb kind of hotel, kind of blend, something like that. But they're really big there, and we had a large group of people. I didn't make it for this one, but we have a large group of people that went out to Bali to go see the site because they're in the startup of this thing going ground up. So so it's exciting to kind of keep watching that story evolve through Bali. But they're in the Dubai. That's where they live at.
Yeah, Dubai's a pretty crazy place, man.
That's gotten like just so much publicity over the years of just the way its growth, and there's no crime. There's just being out in the middle of the desert kind of deal. Like it's like the next Vegas, New York.
Yeah, I mean, I was speaking to agents a while back. One was from Miami and one was from Dubai. And the Dubai lady was like pooping on the Miami guy, like it's like for poor people.
Wow,
I'm like,
yeah.
Jesus. Yeah, there's a
Yeah.
lot of money in Dubai.
Yeah, there absolutely is. Yeah, there
You
is.
think Miami's cheap?
But yeah, in comparison, right? I tell you, Miami, I feel like is um regressing in somewhat. I mean, and I know it's not, but I mean, like it's, even here in the States, I mean, you used to always hear like Miami, Miami, New York, and but you don't really hear in the same tonality as what you did before.
Yeah,
By any means.
maybe it's hit its peak, eh?
Yeah, yeah. But all right, so what's I guess, with the icons of real estate and for Kris Reid, like what's kind of next for you? What's your are
Yeah,
you got a next
yeah,
hurdle?
we're building software at the moment. Getting back to my software roots, and
Okay.
it's for guest booking in real estate. We already have the number one real estate podcast network. We manage a bucket load of shows, and we're always looking for great guests. And so we're building a guesting platform, which will be released really soon, hopefully in the next 2 weeks.
Nice.
Um, where people can get on and see all of the shows. We're going to have all of our network plus every show on real estate. I'll get yours in there, and so people can connect and be a guest. Yeah. So yeah, if you go to a website, you can join the waiting list, but it'll be launched in about 2 weeks.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it.
So that's going to be on your icons of real estate
Yeah,
.com.
Icons Real Estate. Where in fact the newsletter that's going out today is the first announcement of it. So yeah,
Awesome. So you
it's
heard
getting
it
ready for
first
pre-launch.
here.
That's right. That's right.
Well, that's awesome. Well, congratulations on that. I know it's a great way. I think I to blend the two of them together. Your previous experiences doing the in the SEO space and growing that, plus now with the podcast. Is a matter of time to be able to merge those two things together and the big part that's out there, I think, in not even just here in the States, but globally, is the M&A space, the mergers and acquisition space, where everybody always talks about, building a business, growing it to where it has a very high EBITDA, and then being able to sell it out to private equity firms. And
Yeah.
I think that's because there's so many people that are in that older generation that's transitioning to, hey, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to sell my business. And then they end up usually closing the business because they just don't have the means to put it all together. That it's, when you're talking about kind of what you did before in the tech space, and then what you're doing now with the still kind of in the tech space, but podcasting, and then being able to put the two together and create this system is fantastic because a lot of those type of PE companies like those systems, because now it's a performing, thing that has like very low or very little uh, labor that goes into it now because it's an acting performing system that goes into it. So fantastic job on that one.
Thank you, sir. It's been a whole lot of work, but yeah, it's coming together very nicely.
How long you been in the works on that?
Coming up in 2 years on the software side of stuff, it takes a long time to make good software, because it's not just the user interface, there's a whole back end that
Yeah.
manages all the processes as well. But
Yeah.
that we also use to manage our clients as well. So that's how we release stuff on time.
Is that kind of like you're building the CRM
Yeah,
ish
so
kind of in the back side of
everything
it?
from
And
the
then,
booking side to have,
yeah.
you know, so you as a client have a guest booking page where guests can pick a time to be on the show, then how we manage the recordings, how we send those to our editing team, how it gets all through production and when it gets posted and who gets announced and all that good stuff.
Okay.
So yeah, it's
Fantastic.
when you manage a lot of podcasts, it gets to be a lot of cogs, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah. I was gonna say,
and
but it's repetitive. Once you end up doing it, one or two times, and you kind of hit that process and system for it, then it's a matter of just like, hey, we can do this
yeah, but
for the
if you're
masses.
relying on people doing checklists, it's like it's so easy to miss stuff. Where
Yeah,
you want software that manages and goes, you need to check this box, dude. This is
sure.
the stuff that needs to be done. These are the episodes that need to be launched today. Or
So
keep
how
the
are
kids
you how are you integrating the AI technology into this these days?
Yeah, everything's done by people so far. Yeah,
Still okay.
yeah, I mean, apart from well, yeah, that everything we do is done by people.
Okay. I have one of the couple of people that I know in our group. They are like full on AI, like right into it all, and develop a lot of things. And the amount of stuff that they throw out that's generated by AI, or really the backside of their program stuff that is done by AI, it's just mind blowing. Because
Yeah,
it's there. I mean, it's all into the computer and stuff already, and then it's just kind of like hey, I don't really like this. How about this? And you put in this terminology, and it does it. It spins it a different way, and you're like, yep, that's it. And yeah, let's integrate it and give me this 10-step process on how to do it. And it's like,
it's pretty mind blowing, isn't it? And geez,
yes.
and what it's going to be in the next couple of years is well, going to be more mind blowing, I'm sure.
Well, I tell you, I'm in the very, very inkling stages of that. I'm like, oh, Chat GP, okay, peck, hunt and peck. You know, it's but I tell you the stuff that I've done through it, and mind blowing. Like I've been kind of creating the coaching program behind the real estate flipping, because I mentioned before, I think before we started recording, that doing the general contracting and the realtor side, like everything I do is around real estate. And so it's like, how do you take what's in your brain and throw it out to people and say, hey, look, I've learned hard lessons. I've done, from dirt to doorknob on houses, what to look for, what not to look for, or not to look for, but always to look for, but what things are important, what's not important, or as important as structure and all these other things, that there's takes so much knowledge and time to understand, much like, what you're doing. You can't teach everybody that, but everybody needs to have some of that information. And there's a lot of people that would be willing to buy in order to shorten that bell curve. And I think that's really kind of where, um, like I realize there's that niche, right? There's people that are out there that are trying to shorten that bell curve up for whatever it is that you can do. And if you can provide that service, then why not, right? So that's,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, exactly. It's a win-win. Helps you. You get to share your knowledge, and people get to shorten their time strain and not make the same mistakes.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, if I go back and slap my younger self, it's like, yeah, if I had to start all over again, I could get a business to this level like so fast. Where it's like because you know it all now. I know how to get to this level. You
yeah.
know, but back then I didn't.
Yeah, it was kind of funny when I started, I think in the real estate, I was doing the house hacking. So I would buy a house, live in it, fix it up, sell it. And I did that repeatedly. And I think over the first 7 years after I moved to Charlotte, I think I moved maybe like 11 or 12 times. And luckily I wasn't married and I didn't have kids at that time. And so I didn't have to have a lot of stuff. But now we're looking at it, and everybody looks at it and refers to house hacking. It's like, hey, I started doing that. Well, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have YouTube University. We didn't have all
Yeah.
these things that people have the luxury of nowadays that says, hey, I don't know how to quite do that. Can you search it for me and provide me a video so I can learn? It's like, you know, this is
Whatever you want. There's a YouTube video to teach you how to do it. It's amazing. I mean,
yeah,
competition's harder today than it has ever been, but there's also way more information to help you along the way. So
yeah.
I don't know.
It's a trade-off for it. Well, I know, Chris, that we kind of set out a time and stuff for it, and I appreciate your time. And is there kind of getting into the closing side of things? Is there anything that you want to leave, a golden nugget or something that's for the younger people out there that's watching that says, hey, you know what? You need to get with Kris Reid because we're really gonna help you out. Is there a golden nugget you got?
Definitely for younger people, like don't do too many things. Listen to us smarter people that have been there and done that. Pick one thing and do that. Like if you do lots of stuff, like I got a younger buddy here who's a aspiring entrepreneur, and he's got his fingers in so many pies, and he's broke. Because it's like you just do one thing, dude. You can't be doing. You're not Elon Musk. It's like
Yeah.
you can't pretend you are until you are. So just find one thing and stick to it and do that a lot. That's where the money's at. But yeah, if anyone wants any advice on how to start a podcast or look at it, go to our website, iconsofrealestate.com. Check out our framework. That'll give you a great idea of how to do it. But
Well,
you're welcome to reach
fantastic.
out and speak to our team too.
Yeah. Well, Kris Reid, I appreciate you being on over in Spain, and luckily, we're only working with a 6 hour time difference, not a 12 hour or 14 hour time difference this time. But thanks for coming on to the podcast, and look forward to. I still have coffee, but I'll cheers you anyway.
It's not vodka, unfortunately.
No, I was gonna say it looks like a chilled glass of water, so we'll go with that. The but thank you again for jumping on the podcast and sharing your knowledge with us, and definitely look forward to following more content and seeing you hopefully in Spain.
Well, thank you, sir.
Indeed.